Today, we're stepping into one of the most important parts of sociology, how sociologists actually do research. Section 2.1, Approaches to Sociological Research, walks us through the major philosophical foundations behind sociological inquiry. These foundations shape why sociologists ask certain questions, why they choose particular methods, and how they interpret evidence. Conerly et al. Begin this section by explaining that research in sociology is not random. Every sociologist brings certain assumptions about what counts as knowledge, how the social world works, and what methods best answer their questions. These assumptions form the basis of positivist, interpretive, and critical approaches to research. Think of these approaches as the worldviews that guide how sociologists choose evidence and how they interpret what they find. The positivist approach is grounded in the belief that the social world can be studied with the same rigor and objectivity as the natural sciences. This tradition is rooted in Auguste Comte and later Emile Durkheim, both of whom will argue that social facts and patterns can be measured and analyzed using empirical methods. According to the Conerly et al., positivist researchers typically look for general laws and patterns in social behavior, use quantitative methods, prioritize objectivity and neutrality, and aim for replicability. For example, a positivist might study educational inequality by analyzing national statistics on graduation rates, income correlations, and standardized test scores. In this tradition, numbers and measurable variables are central, and the research often results in generalizable conclusions about large populations. The next major approach is the interpretive or social interpretivist tradition. This approach comes largely from Max Weber, who argued that human behavior cannot be understood solely through numbers or general laws. People act based on meaning, values, belief, and subjective experiences. Conerly et al. Emphasized that interpretive sociology focuses on understanding social life from the participant's perspective, uses qualitative methods like interviews, observation, and textual analysis, prioritizes depth over generalization, and is rooted in Weber's idea of verstehen, or deep understanding. An interpretive researcher studying education might sit inside of a classroom, take field notes, interview students and teachers, and analyze how they understand their roles and experiences. This approach highlights meanings rather than measurements. The third major approach is critical sociology, which examines how power, inequality, and social structures shape human behavior and limit opportunities. It is rooted in the work of Karl Marx and later critical theorists who focused on domination, oppression, and social transformation. According to Conerly et al., critical sociology focuses on inequality, exploitation, and dominated groups, aims not only to understand society but to change it, questions systems of power and privilege, and often uses both qualitative and quantitative data, but always through a lens of critique. A critical sociologist studying education, for example, will analyze how schools reproduce racial inequality, class hierarchy, or gender bias. Their goal is not just to observe patterns, but to challenge and transform the systems that create them. These three approaches taken together shape everything sociologists do. Conerly et al. Highlight that sociologists must decide what counts as evidence, whether human behavior is best understood by describing it, interpreting it, or creating it, and which research tools best serve their purpose. Even when two sociologists study the same issue, such as poverty or policing, their conclusions may differ depending on the approach they use. For example, a positivist might measure wage data and unemployment rates. An interpretive sociologist might interview low income families about their lived experiences. A critical sociologist might examine how laws and economic systems maintain inequality. Each lens raises different questions and produces different kinds of insight. Section 2.1 shows that sociology is a rich discipline precisely because it contains multiple ways of understanding the social world. Positivism brings scientific rigor. Interpretive sociology brings depth and meaning, and critical sociology brings attention to power and justice. No single approach is better than the others. Instead, each illuminates a different part of social life. So, why should you understand these approaches? Because every research finding you'll encounter in sociology and every method we use throughout this course grows out of these foundational frameworks. As we continue through Chapter 2, you'll see how these philosophical orientations shape sociological research designs, ethical considerations, and the types of questions researchers ask.